Stephen King looks like a skeleton now.
A spooky, scary skeleton.
Have you seen him lately? In recent years?
I've not seen him recently. I don't feel like he gets photographed too often anymore. I know that I read I don't know. I read articles where people have interviewed him in recent years, but
he looks like a straight up skeleton head now.
Well, maybe he's going for that look. That's how he wants to go out.
He got his face done.
Oh, did he?
No, I'm just saying. Whereas other people want to have plump lips, he wants to look like a skeleton.
Or did he get his face undone? Wait for Kandace to get done yawning over here. We're doing things a little bit differently this time around. Usually we wait for the kids to fall asleep at the end of the night to record these, and that's usually when we podcast. But it's morning.
It's daytime.
It's daytime, and the kids are in school. We're doing it a little bit differently. So
I'm tired. Not really.
I mean, you've had coffee.
Yeah, I'm actually less tired than I am when we record at nighttime, so I don't know why we haven't done this before.
I think the weirdest thing about doing it right now is usually we have a drink while we're recording, like a beer or a whiskey or...
Yeah, because it's like a real... What are you drinking over there?
It's just a can. That's why I got the koozie on, so it's between me and Jesus.
Is it sparkling water?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't smell like sparkling water. It smells like Oktoberfest.
Oh. Well, so nothing's really changed then because you still have a drink. Yeah, I'm getting my hydration in. I'm trying to drink as close to a gallon of water a day as I can.
How's that going for you?
It's hard at first, but as you keep going, it's like you need it. Like you have to upkeep that or you feel not good.
So over time, it's hard at first, but over time it becomes a little more limp.
No. When you intentionally drink a bunch of water, you realize how much water you're usually not drinking before, if that makes sense. Like how much of your life you've wasted not drinking enough water. And then you realize, what have I been doing with my life? I could have had this nice hydrated skin and energy all this time. It's a crazy thing.
You know who probably needs to be hydrating better?
Ew.
Stephen King. You just said he looks like a skeleton.
I love Stephen King. I don't know why I Googled him for some reason. I was just getting in a spooky mood, I think is what it really was. And yeah, his face, he looks like he's morphing over time. Like he could be on one of those Animorph covers, but Stephen King slowly turning into skeleton. I mean, that would be a cool book cover.
That's not really what the Animorphs do. They turn into animals.
I know, but I was comparing it to that, how it shows the evolution of them changing.
What animal do you think Stephen King would anamorph into?
Oh, I was just saying he would be a skeleton.
I know, but what animal? If you had to pick an animal for Stephen King, what would that be?
Based off what he looks like or his vibe.
Either,
because those are two very different things.
I mean, what my mind immediately goes to I'm just in Saint Bernard Cujo. I would see Stephen King turning into Cujo.
Oh, Saint Bernard. Those are too cute, though. I don't know if he would anamorph into a...
Have you seen Cujo?
Yeah, I've seen Cujo.
I mean, they can look pretty evil.
I just meant Saint Bernards. They're so fluffy, like Beethoven.
They're big old fluffs.
Very cute. No, he would just be a skeleton.
So welcome to the Creepful Podcast.
The Creepful Podcast.
Yeah, I think, we're doing a special spooky Halloween episodes all month this month. We're also doing Monday releases this month, so that's going to change up a little bit. I don't know if after this month we'll keep doing Monday releases. We'll see how it goes. I just know that Monday lines up with a special Halloween episode at the end of the month.
Yeah, and we're just trying to get out content in general. So
we're trying this month every single week for Creepy October.
They will be creepy episodes.
They probably won't be that creepy. They'll probably be just a lot of us talking about which animal Stephen King would
there'll be creepy themes. I mean, you're not going to be scared. Yeah. You're not going to be peeing your pants.
You might. But... So I really, the next episode that we're doing after this, Kandace and I have been working hard Kandace has been working kind of hard. I've been half-assing, looking up some spooky urban legends and tales, and we're gonna share some stories in the next one. We're gonna have story time. So, I think we might have to revisit doing a fireside episode for that one at nighttime.
I was going to suggest that we have to do a fireside.
That was my favorite episode that we've recorded so far. Was the very first one. I mean, I didn't enjoy the aftermath of that episode. But
no, we won't get into that.
Kandace just drank a little too much. That's all I'll say.
And Justin is great at cleaning up and using the carpet cleaner. I just have to give you that. And that's all I'll say about that.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I was being...
I thought you were saying that, like, oh, no, like, Justin's a terrible cleaner. I had to go in behind him and clean up after myself.
I was being cheeky and alluding to what could have happened, giving the listener, some context
they can pretty much like figure out now, like,
they know. Anyway. And you rock. You're a great partner.
But anyway, yeah. So we're gonna. I think that the next episode we're gonna try to do like a fireside episode, where we get outside, bust out the solo stove. Not sponsored, but hey,
and we're gonna tell our ghost stories.
Our ghost stories?
Yeah, we're gonna tell our.
Are they ghost stories? I mean, they don't necessarily have to. They're just kind of creepy
stories.
We haven't really set the rules for what we're trying to do here.
Well,
is this a competition?
I think it's a competition because what we'll do is each of us will take turns reading the story that we've compiled, and it's not really a story that we've made up. To be clear, it's something that we've researched and we'll retell it.
Yeah.
In a fun way.
From our storytelling format.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we'll see who wins.
Listeners, we're still trying to get our shit together as far as like, show notes, what we link to and how to contact us and all of that. I think that we're going to try to get some sort of link tree going with ways that you can reach out to us, but you'll have to let us know who wins. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that it was me.
I mean, you'll probably win because you're a great storyteller.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm putting zero effort into this so far, and you've been actually like thinking through this. So I'm probably going to be like throwing something together day of, whereas you're going to have this like elaborate thing planned.
And you'll still win.
We'll see.
You're just a great storyteller.
It's not a competition though, but it is.
Wink.
Wink. So yes, welcome to the first of our spooky Halloween themed episodes. And today we're just gonna kind of keep things a little more general. We're gonna be talking about like we've touched on like things like spooky things that we like in the past, scary movies and things like that. We're gonna be going into a little bit more of that past experiences with like just different Halloween memories and maybe some paranormal memories or experiences and whether or not we believe in those things. So yeah, we're going to be talking about a little bit of that, and hopefully we can get a coherent episode out before we have to get our son off the bus.
Perfect.
Because we chose to do this in the morning.
Well, I just have to know, you mentioned like paranormal or like experiences. Have you ever been through?
Are you jumping right into that?
Yeah, well, I
figured that was like more of an end of episode, like building up to like talking about spooky stuff, but then like, okay, now we got to find out, do they believe in
No, I'm not asking if you believe. I'm saying, have you ever had
But by asking me that
experience?
And me giving you my accounts of any experience that I've had, it's confirming whether or not I believe. I think that we should save that for the end of the episode because that gives people a reason to hang on.
So you want to lead up to?
I want to lead up to that.
Okay.
I think that's what we're leading to. So listeners, if you want to know whether or not Kandace and I believe in the paranormal, I'm going to say it weird every single time. You're going to have to stick around and just sit back, get your whatever your preference of fall latte or warm seasonal drink is.
Pumpkin spice.
Are you a pumpkin spice girl?
I'm not a pumpkin. I actually loathe it.
You know what I have really enjoyed? I did try Starbucks this year has their the apple the apple cider kind of like.
So it's the apple yum drink.
Yum.
But when I walked into Starbucks a few weeks ago and they got their fall seasonal drinks out, I thought that it said apple rum. And so I asked for apple rum and I just kind of got a chuckle and I'm like, I mean, there's rum flavors of things. That's not
you are right. And rum is a very big fall flavor.
It is a fall flavor.
I'm very much a bourbon guy, but this time of year, I tend to really want like a spiced rum because it goes well with so many fall drinks.
Yeah, especially apple flavors and stuff. But yeah, they kind of chuckled at me like, hey, the liquor store's right there.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. What's funny is the only Starbucks that we have in our town is part of our Kroger. So
you have to get out of your car.
You have to get out of your car, go into this place and stand in, Kroger, our local grocery store, for, Starbucks. And the liquor store, like they can't sell hard liquor in the aisles in Ohio, like as part of the main store. So most Kroger, what they do is they have a separate store up front or somewhere in the store that is technically a separate store with its own liquor license that can sell hard liquor. So it is right across the aisleway from where the Starbucks is. So
yeah, so they made a joke like, yeah, go right over there if you want some rum. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I can hardly read signs. Like I thought it said rum, but I'll take the apple yum. That's okay.
I mean, I wish it were apple rum.
I know. I mean, I think that would be a great flavor. We had a bonfire latte this morning. Speaking of fall drinks.
From Revival Coffee House. And, I don't know why I said that in spooky voice, but
it was good. It had like, it was all right. It was I think that I enjoyed the drink that I had there.
I did. I did like, there were hints of like a kind of like a bourbon-y flavor to it. Yeah. Could have been the bourbon that I poured into mine, but guys, no, I'm not getting drunk, like morning drunk. I've not had bourbon.
He just winked at me. You can't see it, but he just kidding.
Hey, again, this is in my koozie conceals. This is between me and Jesus.
Me and Jesus.
Sorry, listeners. We had to take a pause for a bit. I'm on beer 2 now.
And I've started beer 1.
Yeah, it's one of those days. This is why we have such a hard time podcasting. Shit just comes up.
There's always something coming up. There's never just a peaceful day,
uninterrupted day where we get anything done. So anyway, I feel like I was just about to ask you what some of your favorite fall activities and things to do are.
I would say baking fall bread and being...
When have you ever baked fall bread?
I said I would say baking fall bread and being just an awesome homemaker who does like cool like fall decorations, crafted DIY at home. But I'm not that type of person. Instead, my favorite fall activity is starting my slow hibernation into the couch and covering up with fall blankets that are like fuzzy and warm. And then just starting my long hibernation.
Do you notice like this time of year, I feel like I have a really hard time, like a harder time than usual, waking up in the mornings to get ready for work and getting myself like up and going.
It's really hard. And I've been having that same issue. We've been sleeping in more and more like past our alarm. What is your theory? Is it because it's colder? Do you think that that's what it is, like in the morning?
So for me, it's a few things. It's the temperature. Like, yeah, like my body is like, it's colder. And so I feel like more shut down. But I also think that because we're not being as active outside anymore, I think that our body is just kind of like a little more sluggish. We're eating heavier like foods a lot of the time in the winter, I think. So
I've been really active outside.
You have been. But like what I'm saying is like in general, you do start to like slow down. We're not getting outside as much once winter kind of hits. I'm not saying like that's like why we're being sluggish now. Like there's a few different reasons, but like that's one of the big ones that I think that kind of like starts to make you sluggish over the winter.
I really do feel like just a bear ready for hibernation. Just like I need snacks, warm blankets, movies, and just not leave the house. Which leads me to my true fun fall activity. Scary movies, obviously. Scary movies, doing some of the fall like festival stuff with the kids.
Yeah,
is really the main thing.
Really enjoy going to some of the fall festivals. There's I'm a little sad because there was one that I really enjoyed in the Indianapolis area when we lived there still. That we haven't.
Yeah, I remember that.
We haven't been back to, and like there's a few that we've tried around here. A few that they've been okay, but like nothing that really like captures like everything that this place had. Like it's so there's like one that we really like that's here called Niederman Farm, And like they have a lot of really cool stuff there, but there's just like some aspects of it that aren't present.
Do you think though it's because the kids are getting bigger?
No, because like they're really into that stuff. Like I feel like if anything, like that's their jam right now.
I just remember when they're smaller, it's like fun to dress them up in like the orange colors and like the fall colors and take pictures. And then they like pick out their pumpkin and they're so cute and little and like waddling around. I don't know. I feel like as they get older, I feel like they're wanting to do those things less. And it's sad.
It's not that they're wanting to do things less. I think that life is just kind of getting in the way of how often we're able to do these things. It does seem like more of a chore sometimes. Like Milo is just hard to take anywhere. He's always been that way. But like I don't think that they're against doing those things. Like I still think they really, really do like going to that sort of thing. We're trying to take our kids to Kings Island's Halloween hunt, I think tonight. And like Evelyn is really into the idea of it. Margot, I think, is very skeptical of the whole haunted house concept and like people walking around in costume. She's afraid that they're going to like chase her or which I mean, they might.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole fun part of those is like the thought of being, like scared. But as a kid, I could see how that would be an unsettling thought. I love
that stuff as a kid, though. Like and Halloween Haunt at Kings Island, it's pretty tame. Like, let's be honest, it's tame.
I mean, it is kid friendly too.
It is very kid friendly throughout.
And like children's section set up.
At least that's what it's been years since we've gone to Halloween Haunt. So, I could be remembering it wrong, but I remember even like the more adult section, like there are like bigger kid, like kind of setups being pretty tame. It's not like, there are definitely places that I've been to, like Land of Illusion is another big one in this part of Ohio that draws a big crowd every year. And like, they just have like very, very like gory, dark scenes that are not necessarily kid friendly. I think there's actually an age requirement to even go into that one.
Yeah.
Or certain ones that they have there at least.
Yeah. We wouldn't be taking them to something like this. It's more of like a family friendly.
That sort of stuff as a kid. Like I loved like, not really like knowing like, oh, hey, are they gonna just like jump out and grab you? Like there's some places like where you can sign waivers for like they're able to like kind of grab you and put hands on you and like kind of just do subtle little things. Like obviously they don't take it too far, at least they shouldn't. But I don't know, those kinds of places, like that doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I like getting scared. But not that I like most of the time I just kind of like walk through like kind of just laughing the whole time though, because like, first off, like these are, and not to knock like community theater and like those sorts of people. Like, I mean, I've done community theater. It's fun. It's a blast. But they're not necessarily, getting out there in the headspace of, like Leatherface, like, oh, I'm going to chop your face off and chase you around it. Like,
no, they're just having fun with it, which is, what they should.
It's kind of over the top and just silly. And sometimes it can be hard to take. Like, it's not so much that I'm laughing at them. It's more that I'm laughing with them.
Yeah, for sure. I like the theatrics of it. I'm not actually really scared. It's just, it's fun. It's kind of a rite of passage. Like it's Halloween time. You want to get fake scared. It's all part of the fun. It's like scary movies too. It's really rare for a movie to actually scare me or make me feel uneasy.
Yeah. So there's like the cheap jump scare, which I mean, that gets everybody because it's designed to do that. And it's a really cheap way of scaring somebody. It doesn't have a lasting effect. It's like in that moment, it can be scary just because like shock value or like, oh shit. But it's rare that like we watch something that like really like kind of just sticks with you and like, shit, dude, like what did I just see?
I know that there's been really few instances in the past few years where we've seen a scary movie and it actually like kept me up at night or made me have weird dreams. It's really rare. I feel like one of them was that weird movie with I actually don't remember what it was called. It had a really unsettling like soundtrack, and I don't want to give away any part of the movie, but I can't think of like how to describe it to you.
Well, by saying all you've told me is that it had a very unsettling soundtrack.
Unsettling soundtrack. Check. Scary. Yeah, that narrows it down. It was the movie where the mom like paints has the mini house figures. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you sure that wasn't a one of the creep show? Like,
no, it's not that. I can see how you would think that. And it's not the whole plot of the movie, but she has like miniatures of the home that she works on, and they have like a daughter who has a strange face, and then a son.
She has a.
Is it Hereditary? Face. Maybe.
Is that?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, like the one where the thing happens with the stop sign.
It's Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary.
Yeah.
So I guess I completely spaced out on the miniatures.
Yeah, the mother had the miniatures.
And that the person that made Hereditary, what were the other ones that they made? They made a few that are kind of those kind of like what were they? Was that A24 or Blumhouse?
It was
that produced those.
I'm looking.
I feel like it was A24. I'm pretty sure that was A24. There's like a specific brand of horror that they tend to put out. But yeah, the person that did Hereditary, they also did.
It's A24. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. What was the other one that they did like after? Like, what was their follow up to Hereditary? I'm spacing. Was
Midsummer one of them?
Yes, Midsummer.
So Midsummer, which was pretty ungreen.
Yeah,
as well
for specific reasons. And then they also, I think that same person did the what was the one about like the Green Knight.
Oh,
which was a little bit. It had like horror.
See that
we didn't
one.
See it, but I think that it had like kind of like horror elements to it, but wasn't. It was more of like a like historical, like fantasy kind of like.
I would like to see that.
Tale.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen any of those, I mean, they're worth watching. I liked Hereditary because I was actually, for whatever reason, I can't pinpoint why. I was pretty unsettled after watching that movie, and I had some weird dreams
as a mother
later.
Yeah, I can see why that would be unsettling.
It was just really strange. I remember opening my eye, like falling asleep that night, opening my eyes, and our closet door was open, and I just saw something in the darkness. And obviously, it probably wasn't real. It was just my like half asleep brain seeing things. And I just opened my eyes and see something. And I felt like I was having a heart attack. It was one of those situations where you just sit up in bed and you can't breathe and you feel like someone's like sitting on your chest. And I stayed awake the rest of the night. And nothing even like that happens in the movie. It just got me in that weird headspace where I'm really unsettled.
Paranoia.
And which honestly, as weird as it sounds, I kind of love that. Like as scary as it is, like later, I love when movies make you feel that way. And it's kind of rare. I mostly laugh at them, kind of like the community theater volunteers. Like it's just like usually scary movies aren't scary and they're just a funny experience and fun to watch with people.
There are definitely like, and that's the thing is there are times in our past, in our history, where the right movie has come out at the right time. And I think they've had huge impacts. I think that if, like some of these films had been released at any other time, they probably wouldn't have had the same like lasting impact. If I were to watch a lot of these today, I would not like,
a lot of them don't age well, so they don't hold up.
Either that or like something becomes so popular in the horror industry that they put out a bunch of copycat ones.
Yeah.
And, they just, way overdo it. And you kind of get desensitized to the idea. Like one thing that comes to my mind is kind of the found footage genre. So like, like obviously like in the 90s, Blair Witch, like that was it again, right. The right time to come out. Like it's not anything like so scary. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like scary in the sense of like, what some of the found footage films do now with like the jump scares and stuff. It's more like kind of just like unsettling.
So it's more overdone now. So if it came out now, it probably wouldn't scratch the surface. But back then,
like people were legit like concerned, like, is this real? Like people thought it was.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of those films that it was a little bit ahead of its time. Because it wasn't until, almost about 10 years later, maybe a little bit more than 10 years. I can't quite get my timeline, like what year this film came out. But about like 10 years later, the first Paranormal Activity movie comes out. And I think that was one of the things that really kind of like skyrocketed the whole like found footage genre. Like it was the right time for those films to like finally like cameras. Like think about like how good like consumer cameras and home cameras and like the things we're getting at that point. Like people were able to make these like low budget films there have been several of them that have come out that like I absolutely just adore. Like the first, for instance, the first two, I would even say Paranormal Activity movies. Like I loved seeing those in theaters.
Yes.
Like those are very much the type of movie you need to see in theater. It doesn't have the same impact at home. I mean, yeah, like they got kind of like watered down and just like not as effective the more of them they released. And going back and watching them now, it doesn't, I mean, because there's no surprise to it. Like that's, again, has some jump scare factors. Like they don't get you the same way twice.
Yeah. I have to say, though, seeing at least the very first Paranormal Activity movie in theaters those used to be my favorite experiences, like watching a scary movie in a crowded, sold out, like Friday night theater where there's not just teenagers talking, and there's actually the whole crowd is working its energy together and just like screaming together, like, you know, to all of these jump scares. That was probably one of the most fun movie experiences I've had watching a scary movie, because it was giant theater, sold out. Most of the movie, while you're watching the footage, it's quiet because, you know, you just hear that like almost audio buzz kind of in the background.
See, and then like there's something paranormal happens in those movies, you get that like that kind of like air conditioner like vibration, kind of noise.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing that the first time in theaters, you don't realize that that's something that's like engineered like in the film. Like that could very well just be like, oh, the AC just kicked on in the theater, or like you don't really like at home coming out of your TV speakers. It's very obvious what that is.
Yeah.
But like that first time seeing those films in theater, it was an experience.
Scary the first time.
It was like, you know, as a grown adult at that point, like I had, you know, that thing where like you go home, you try to sleep, and like there's a dark shadow, like a dark corner of your room that you're like, shit.
You're like, shit, there's eyeballs in that corner.
I'm not able to see the crease in the paint there. Like something could be hiding there.
What's standing there?
Shit, I forgot to close my closet door. Oh, fuck, I have to go down into the basement to get this thing.
Great, now it's lights on the rest of the evening.
Ooh, that's another good. That was not a okay, so let me caveat here. This is not a found footage film, but that was like one movie. Not so I wouldn't say the feature length Hollywood version of Lights Out, but the original the short film. And I'm spacing the guy's name. He does a whole bunch of horror shorts. He was the director for the Shazam movie as well.
Yes.
And I really love like his short horror work on YouTube. He's got a whole bunch of them on there. I think Kandace is looking it up, so I'll just
check out David Sandberg. Is the filmmaker for the short film of Lights Out.
And he did produce the Hollywood, I think that one might have been a Blumhouse movie. He did produce that as well, but it didn't have film. Like that short is like that first time you watch that, it's just like, oh shit.
And he does, you know, he made that short film all himself. And also check out, like, if you are interested, he has a lot of behind the scenes of making.
Yes, and I really appreciate those, because
I love to watch.
I've always loved behind the scenes stuff, but there's just something about, like, you know, it's just him and his wife making a lot of these, and you know, that inspires me, because like I don't have a crew of people. Like we're trying to like make stuff in between, like putting the kids to bed and us falling asleep ourselves. Like I just appreciate seeing like the craftsmanship that can go into such a small production, how you get the most out of what you have, and really just letting the story take hold and, you know, be the thing that drives your project, as opposed to like worrying so much about like having the right gear and having all the talent and people involved in it. And it's just all of those things. So yeah, like go on YouTube, check out the original Lights Out short film. I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 minutes long. And
it is really creepy. And I love how candid they are on the behind the scenes, showing how they made all their like special effects and like different props, and they're really simple tricks and things that they do. And it really is inspiring if you are wanting to make your own short film or something like that.
And like I said, like this guy, like for a number of years, he was just making these YouTube videos, and that led to him. He ended up producing and directing the feature length version of Lights Out, inspired by his short film, which led to him also working on, what was it? Annabelle Creation.
Yes.
The second Annabelle movie.
The second Annabelle.
He directed that movie, which led him, like, he's now working for like DC on the Shazam movies. Like that doesn't, how do you get
how
from
did
here
you
to
get
there?
from that to that? Yeah, I don't understand that.
And I can't remember do you remember the name of his YouTube channel though? Because it's not his name.
No, I don't remember, but
we'll have to throw it into the show notes, even though we never ever put the URLs in the show notes.
Or just look up David Sandberg, and I'm sure Lights Out.
Lights Out.
Yeah, and you'll find it on
and then
YouTube.
go to his channel and like watch his other stuff, and so watch the short film and then watch the behind the scenes stuff for that short, like how his making up. He's a really entertaining guy. And
he and his wife have a lot of other short films that they've done as well. That a lot of them are creepier ones that I really like watching. But yeah, I don't know how we got off on this tangent of horror filmmaking.
You said no, that's not a tangent. Like that's part of it. We're talking about just like favorite fall activities, and you like horror films.
That's really the biggest one.
Is a big part of that. Like, you know, we try to watch horror films throughout the year. Like we both love them so much, but especially around Halloween season, it gives us it puts us in the mood to like, all right, we're definitely sitting down and watching some of this.
I kind of panic too, because I feel like when October 1 hits, I feel like there's this like invisible countdown where I'm like, I have to fit in all the scary movies. Like I can't just watch them anytime throughout the year, but it has a special charm and feeling if you're watching it during spooky month. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I can go watch these in December and January and February, but I almost like panic, like, oh, we only have however many weekends left in October. How are we going to fit in all these movies and shows that we want to watch?
We won't.
We won't.
That's kind of it. So we try to keep spooky season going as long as we can in our house. So going back to like, you would kind of hit on like the experience of like being at like a Thursday night or a Friday night, like premiere, like release of a movie, like back in the day when you would have like just dedicated fans who are also filling the theater and really into it. And then, like not just a bunch of like teenagers like there, like hanging out and being obnoxious. Man, that's a time that it has come and gone. We will never get that experience again.
And our
midnight
kids won't
releases
either,
on like a Thursday night.
Sad.
Like they release, like when I remember lining up for like a film that I really wanted to see, they were showing it on one screen at midnight on a Thursday night, and you couldn't buy your tickets ahead of time. In the earlier days of this, you had to line up, get your tickets.
It was first come, first serve. If the theater sold out, sorry, then you didn't get to see the premiere. I was like, and again, you were able to do this too, but I saw the evolution of this because I worked at a theater. It started off like that, and then it changed to, oh, this movie's so popular, there's a demand for it, let's open up more theaters.
Well, see, that came with the transition from film to digital. Because suddenly we didn't have to have the physical film reels to put this on multiple screens. So if we sold out one auditorium,
we could open up another. Yeah.
Which, again, that was fine.
Yeah. But
as long as they weren't overdoing it. But then it got to the point where like, okay, you know what? We need to outdo this theater. So we're going to do 10 o'clock release. Right. We're going to do an 8 o'clock release. You know what? Let's do 7 o'clock and make it to where all of the teenagers are
not only that, let's show it every half hour until midnight so that it's not even special. It's like you're not showing up to wait in line. Yeah, it's a little bit more convenient because especially if you're younger, it's Thursday releases, that's a school night. So it is nice to be able to fit in that movie. And
if they can see it on Friday or Saturday or like whenever they get the chance, like it was in the old days, like let the people who really want to be there at midnight, let them have that opportunity still. Don't open up, let the movie come out to the masses on Friday. If you have a way of being there on midnight, let them do it.
What's crazy too is the only reason why there were midnight releases was because technically everything came out on Friday.
Yeah.
So they would open it up at midnight.
So it felt special. Like, oh shit, I'm cheating the system.
I'm the very first one. And now if it's just showing in like plain daylight on Thursday, it's like, well, why then? Why can't you just open it on Friday then? Money, money, money. They need that money.
I really think that for the most part, it's kind of been Marvel is one of the things that has kind of really ruined this. Like when the Avengers movies, like the first like couple of like phases like started becoming big, like that's where they started doing this because they were breaking box office records and like, like why not? The theaters, I mean, you can't fault them. They're just trying to make money. They don't give a shit. But I think as a fan, it kind of ruins it a little bit.
It was all the same era as the big things that were going on in those times where that transition happened were the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There was Harry Potter films still coming out. There were Twilight films still coming out when I noticed that transition. Just those really big ones that were like people needed to see them. They needed more showtimes. And then they just became not special eventually. And then now, it's hardly necessary to even go to a theater half the time because the movie will be streaming probably within a few days if you wait or immediately.
Or simultaneously. That's one thing that does kind of bother me. There are certain films that I don't mind watching them at home, but there's certain films that I want to be in a theater. And I feel like, and that's the thing is like we even have it, like we have a really, really, really nice TV down in our basement with a good sound system. And I love watching films down there. But even that is not the same as being in a theater filled with like-minded people who are also there to enjoy an experience. And like, there's kind of like you build off of their reactions, their energy. If they're also there to enjoy the movie and not just like, like now I feel like the last few like release day movies we've gone to, there's a bunch of kids like on their phones the entire time. Like
we've phones are what kills me.
We've seen like people just like fights, like arguments and stuff break out. Like they're not there to watch the movie. So I'm like, why are you here? Like, just come see this Friday night or Saturday night, or like, why are you here for the damn like release?
I really miss that tingly feeling of having that camaraderie with the whole theater. It doesn't often happen. Say the last time it happened for me was when we saw the newest Ghostbuster movie with the kids. There was actually a lot of people in the theater that were as pumped. It was
older people there with their young children, like there for the nostalgia of it.
Yeah.
So we did like every now and then we do get lucky and have like a pretty good viewing experience.
It's usually nostalgia films that it happens with, not newer films.
While we're on a movie theater rant, one other thing that bothers me is like buying the tickets ahead of time. Like, yes, it's so convenient, but at the same time, people don't show up to fucking movies on time anymore. And what happens is you have these people who've like bought their tickets ahead of time, kind of walking in as the movie has already started because like, oh, we don't have to like worry about not having seats. They're going to be there. So let's take our time out in the lobby with all of our I am the kind of person like I will get in there even with my reserved seats like a half an hour early. And I usually like munch down on all of my like snacks and popcorn and stuff at that point, and then like enjoy it while I'm watching trailers. And like then by the time the movie comes around, like I'm ready to watch. These people are coming in and sitting in their seats, like, like sometimes 5 minutes after the movie's has even started. And then they start like opening up all of their candy and chewing on their popcorn, and they got to like, have conversations still, like get there early and get that shit out of your system. Like we're trying to enjoy this movie that we overpaid for.
I feel like that's totally, I'm just picturing you in an episode of like Seinfeld or something. Like, what's
the deal?
Just being, just like being cranky,
with
like
the current theater
staring
experience.
At everybody, like opening their candies.
Like where that, like that sort of like that complaining, where that comes from is having lived like, and I wouldn't say that I even got the golden age of the movie theater experience because I didn't. Like, I think that probably came at an earlier time before, like even like movies on demand or like home theater, or like home box, like having like VHS tapes, DVDs. Like there was a certain period of time where that was not readily available. You couldn't watch these movies at home unless you just happened to catch it like on a cable station. Or it just had to be like you had to find a theater that was playing, like re-releasing these films, or like there was other ways of doing so. But like there was a time and a place where like, like that was the cinema experience. Like that was it for a lot of these. Like that was the way they were intended to be viewed. That was the only way that they were viewed. And, like if you were there watching it, it's because you wanted to be. And we missed out on that. But there was still like, even in our youth, like there was still some prestige to the theater experience. That was the way to watch movies still. Like, yes, you can get your favorite movie on VHS, 6 months down the line or whatever. And,
but it was still hard to wait.
It was still hard to wait. So Whereas, like Candace was saying, like now, like it's either being simultaneously released, like the newest Halloween movie was released on Peacock the same day that it came out in theaters, and I'm like, all right, well, this kind of like why should I even care about this if it's like, you know, you don't give it the time of day to, like, you know, have its time in the theater, like the theater experience, like they're not even, it's not being taken seriously anymore. So like, why are the movie studios, like, why should they care? They're just gonna, you know, they're going to release it however, you know, makes them the most money. Like, so it really is kind of like, it's killing the theater experience. But the theater experience was dying long before streaming.
It was dying before streaming. I'm going to go, even though I wasn't alive in this time period, I'm just going to guess that late 70s and 80s was probably prime movie
Could
theater
you imagine,
time.
You know, the year is, was it 1976 or 1977?
For the
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars.
Could you imagine? I think it was 76, wasn't it?
I don't know.
And then 80 was Empire Strikes Back, and then 83 was Return of the Jedi.
Well, there's Star Wars, and then there's just all of the original horror films that came out that are now like the old school ones now. And
I would have loved in like the late 70s, early 80s, like sneaking into a theater to like watch these like R-rated horror films, because that was the only way to see it back then. So like I'm just like picturing like sneaking in to see like the Friday the 13th, Halloween, like I don't know that
so many good movies came out. I bet that was just the best time to go to the theater.
And I think that I've talked about this in one of our previous podcasts, but like for me as a kid getting into horror films, it was all about the video store, like going into my local video store. They have the wall of like horror films with like the cool covers, like
was
all
it
up.
Dave?
Dave's video, good old Dave,
with his back room,
with his the beaded the back room with the adult films,
the no room.
I'm surprised that you don't know what because I feel like every video store had something similar to this.
You told me about this, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you got that from a movie. I've never seen a video store with a secret like back room.
You've only gone to like the big like chain stores, then I'm assuming. Like,
I mean, we were going to Blockbuster.
Did Blockbuster not have an adult? Like, I didn't have a Blockbuster in my town growing up. I would go to a Blockbuster occasionally. That was in like the next town over, but that was like we were already in the area. Our little rinky-dink one didn't have as big of a selection, and there's a good chance that this movie that just came out, it's going to be gone. Blockbuster has like 6 copies of this, so
I've never seen a video store with a back room. That just sounds like fake sitcom video store.
That's where Dave, you know, he keeps his softcore porn.
That's super just I don't know what that is, but that's something.
That was a part of the time. But like that was my foray like into like horror films, was just like, you know, I had this giant selection of VHS copies of horror films kind of at my disposal. But even that wasn't seeing them the way that it was meant to be seen. Like that's not seeing it in a theater. Like that's not like, you know, like
on VHS
it was always like kind of just like gritty and dark and like hard to see, like especially nighttime scenes and stuff. Like I don't know.
I definitely, if I wanted to see a horror film, I definitely had to sneak in the theater, because otherwise like my parents weren't gonna rent that or let me watch that. I would have to sneak in and risk getting kicked out or whatever. Which is funny because I started working at a theater later, and I hated when kids snuck in the theater because it was just more work for me. But I did that all the time. It's just what kids do. It's a fun time.
So aside from horror films, let's talk about like, you know, Halloween's past. What are some of your favorite Halloween memories growing up?
Growing up, like Halloween memories,
kid, teenager, whatever.
I would say, I mean, everything about trick-or-treating was just the best to me, especially getting to the age where you're running around your neighborhood and your parents are finally letting you go without them, as long as you're in a group with like your friends. Those were the best times. Like you're not too old to trick-or-treat yet. You're still a kid. I'm talking like 4th, 5th grade probably. And you just get to run around like all night and just have fun. And then meet up with your friends after, and everyone dumps their candy out. Like everyone's just having a good time being a kid. We're getting scared. Back then, a lot more of the people in the neighborhoods would have like mini haunted houses where they would actually let kids come into their home or garage that they had like transformed into a haunted house.
Now it's like, hey kid, come into my garage.
Well, now I feel like that's not a thing. Like
to the point where like they don't even let kids usually get very close to the garage. Like most parents, like they're sitting in their lawn chairs out at the end of the driveway. And yeah, you're like, oh, you don't have to come up to my door. Don't worry. Like, you don't.
Our neighborhood was wild. We would have like a few houses that we knew would have a haunted house. They would open up their front door and they had completely transformed the home, like put stuff all over the walls. They had the like fog machines going, scary music, jump scares. It was a haunted house in their home. So it's like, I don't know if that was allowed or if it's probably frowned upon now, but we had so much fun. And then at the end, they give you candy. So it's like you're getting candy, you're having a good time. Yeah, I just love those times. It makes me sound old, but I just feel like things like that are not the same anymore.
No.
I don't know. And sometimes it's for good reason. There is a risk, like a lot with, like, obviously you don't want your kids going into strangers' homes, like unattended, like by you. And I understand that. I'm not saying that I wish things would go back to how they were. I think that
a lot of it was more ignorance to like what people were capable of, not so much that things have changed.
Exactly. And so I don't want to go back to having that ignorance, but I do wish for our kids' sake sometimes that they could have some of those fun memories
that like really made our childhood. So I was thinking about this the other day. Just, you know, like at what point do we let our kids walk around by themselves on Halloween? Because like my mom, I don't remember my mom walking around with me on Halloween past like, I want to say like first or second grade. Like I feel like even at that young, like even at Margot's age, like I was walking around our neighborhood by myself. I
know at least like first and second grade, I was accompanied by my parents. But yeah, after that, I think it was kind of more relaxed as long as I was with friends. Especially because like, you know, your neighborhood and, you know, back then, at least like my parents trusted, you know, like everyone in the neighborhood. It wasn't something scary to think about. I don't know if I would, you know, ever trust our kids to walk around the neighborhood on Halloween alone until they're way older, but maybe that's me being a helicopter.
I don't know. I feel like Evelyn's probably at that age where it's probably okay as long as she's not going super far out. I don't know.
Fourth grade seems like borderline, like iffy to me. I still feel like there should be some accompaniment. Oh my gosh.
It's all right. You're drunk.
I'm not drunk at all. I just can't say that word.
Candace is over here having her beer. I'm just having my beverage that's, you know, in my koozie. It's just between me and Jesus.
It's not a beer if it's in a koozie. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying is you don't know what it is. Like that could be sparkling water. It could be a Diet Pepsi.
It's a mystery to me.
It's a mystery. It's definitely not Oktoberfest. Shout out Sonder Beer.
Not a sponsor. I don't know. What about like Halloween memories for you? Do you have any that, you know, are different than mine? Like besides the trick or treating and all of that?
I mean, like trick or treating, like that was always a lot of fun. I grew up like, I think trick or treating for me was a lot different than it was for you because you were in, you were in kind of a suburban neighborhood that, you know, like had all of like the big neighborhood with just houses. I lived in a small rural town where, you know, our like we had a few blocks of like houses that were kind of intertwined with like some of like the town and stuff too. So like it's a little smaller scale. I think that like things were a little more like walkable. Like everyone kind of knew everybody in the town. So like I felt like it felt a little safer because of that. So like that's why like even at a young age, like my mom didn't really walk around with me, but that's because like, you know, if I ever needed something, I could say like, you know, like, hey, Mrs. Johnson, can you call my mom for me real quick? And like my mom would be on the phone in like 2 seconds, or like people were like kind of keeping it, like everyone knew who all the kids were. So a little bit different time. But I would say like some of like, aside from trick or treating, some of my favorite things about Halloween was when you started to transition out of those trick or treating years into those like early teens, like you're hanging out with your friends causing chaos on Halloween.
Is that when you started smashing pumpkins?
Oh, I mean, I was smashing all sorts of shit. No, No, like
That sounded
weird. Justin Smash. But anyway, like getting back to like kind of just getting into those like kind of like early teen years where like you're still being like, you're not too cool for Halloween, but you're not quite like dressing up and doing all of the Halloweening. So what do? You play pranks on people. You do like, I remember there was one year I was in probably 7th or 8th grade. My dad, he always worked second shifts. So he was like gone in the evenings a lot, and I was just home alone. And again, another thing that probably wouldn't happen this day and age, but it was at that age, I was like, what, 13 years old, like 12, 13. Like that was perfectly fine. But yeah, my dad was gone for work, and I was just at home by myself, and I hear noises coming from outside the house. And I step outside, and a few of my friends from school, like, they're TPing my yard. So if you like walked outside and you saw like a group of people like TPing your house, what would your first reaction to that be?
It depends on the group. Like if it was a group that was like, oh, this group is bullying me at school, I'd be pissed or like upset. If it was my friends, I would be like, cool.
So, I mean, I joined in.
Of course.
I helped them TP my yard because I knew my dad was going to be the one to clean them up. So,
well, if it's your friends, it's like kind of fun. So you're like, hey.
But then that led from like, like we went from TPing my house to like suddenly like we got one of their moms to like drive us around like out in the country. Like, so like we terrorized some friends that were like in my general vicinity.
I love how this mom
area.
is just for it. She's like, yeah, let's go terrorize
so
kids.
Like, yeah, like, well, she took us out like more into the country, like so to some of the more like, like out there homes of some of our friends. And we TP'd those houses. So she was our getaway driver. And,
that will be me.
There were fun times. Like I had a lot of good memories just like doing stuff like that. Like I remember one Halloween, a buddy of mine, like he'd just gotten his license, and his parents, for whatever reason, his parents bought him a fucking Mustang, like a newer Mustang. That's like 16-year-old. Like no, don't do that. But he was like being a huge dick about it. So we decided to humble him. We like wiped like Vaseline down like all over the car, so it was like slippery, and then we saran wrapped over top of the Vaseline.
Did you really?
And then then we like
what a jerk.
Oh man, it took him forever to get all of that off. And like I don't know that we ever owned up to like doing it. I think that he knew, but I mean, he was being a jerk first about the whole like just bragging about the car. So
basically you guys were jealous that he had a new car.
I mean, my first car, well, first off, when I first got my license, I was just driving my dad's car. Like my dad's always had more cars than he's needed. So my dad had like an extra car that I was like kind of just like driving around for a bit. But my first car that I bought myself, it was like $500. It was an Oldsmobile Delta 88. And it's just this, the fabric on top of it, like would have cigarette burns in it.
Yeah.
You'd have to like thumbtack it up because it would kind of just like fall down and not stay up. And
my parents had one for a little bit when I was a little bit younger, and it was probably the same car. It had the same cigarette burns in the ceiling and
the same exact
ones.
Man, I think who's going around doing this to our vehicles?
I think someone had carved, because in the ceiling you could kind of, it was kind of velvety too. Someone had carved Dick into the ceiling. Not a picture of one, but like the word Dick, just like
maybe
really
it was
big.
his name. He was marking his car as Richard.
Yeah, it was just like a mess. So it obviously like used to be hopefully like a teen's car. I'm hoping it was like a teen's car, but my parents got it as like a used car. Because for the longest time, my parents were a one vehicle like family. So if my dad was working, you guys couldn't do anything.
Yeah. And that was before like home delivery of like groceries and stuff too.
So my dad had just got like a cheap cash, car for my mom to buzz around in, and it was the Dick one. So yeah, I have fond memories in that car. It was like comfy in the back with the velvet, and I don't know, I liked that. It was like deep red velvet or something like that.
It was that was exactly the color of it was like that kind of like reddish, like not maroon, but like kind of just like this deep dark red, like. And
it had that faint cigarette smell, but it was like oddly comforting.
Mine had, like I said, I got it for $500. The lady that I bought this from was like 89 years old. Had, it didn't have that many miles on it, honestly.
I was going to say, she didn't smoke in it for 50 years.
Oh, she did smoke in it for, however many years, but she didn't drive it that often. But oddly enough, that lady, I'm pretty sure she smoked till she died, and she lived to be pretty old. So
YOLO.
YOLO.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, like, no, I loved just those like kind of like, like pulling pranks with like friends and stuff. And then I remember when I got into high school, I was still, I love Halloween so much. I never stopped celebrating Halloween. Like some people like kind of went through phases where they didn't care about it as much, but like, so it transitioned from that to like, I was hosting these like Halloween parties at my house. They're like no like drinking or anything like that, like going on, at least like not on the up and up, like up front. But like we would have Dave's like back room. we would break our house into like different sections where like one room would have like, okay, we have a theme for this year and it's like slasher, like OG slasher. So like it's just playing like Friday the 13th movies like on like repeat, like one after the other, like all night. We'd have like order a bunch of pizzas and stuff. Like we'd have one room that was like video gaming. Like we'd have games, like a whole bunch of like Xboxes set up with like LAN connections. And like we would split the house up into these different areas. So for the people who want a game, it's there. For the people who want food, it's there. For the people who just want to like talk and stuff, like there's a section out back with a fire going. There's like, we would have these parties when I was in high school.
Why don't we do this?
Because we don't have friends. So fun. Listen, listeners, if you are into those things with the added benefit of alcohol as adults, hit us up. Come to our house. I think we just decided we're throwing a Halloween party.
That just sounds like a party. But now we have to incorporate like a kid-friendly atmosphere too.
I mean, that was a kid-friendly atmosphere. The problem is, I feel like the type of people we would have around us now are not kid-friendly.
Oh, darn.
At least not when they're drinking.
Well, maybe we'll plan this for like 10 years from now.
But no, like it wasn't quite those like the more college years Halloween parties where like you just got to dress up like a slutty Native American and
or sexy ghost.
Mm-hmm. My clothes are invisible. You're not dressing up like that, just going out and getting shit faced. Like you're just having a good time with like your close group of like friends from high school. And like, there might be like so-and-so brought like a friend or two of theirs by association. So like, you're not like super close with them, but you get to like make new friends. And it's just like, everyone's just having fun. And like I said, there was a little something for everybody. And I put those on every year, and I would get excited because like I would have like a theme every year. And so like for that theme, I would go around, I would like go like purchase things I need to get all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies this year. Like,
and just have them on repeat.
So I love the social aspect of it, like getting into those years where you were just really like having fun with friends, and it wasn't like necessarily the kiddie like trick or treating anymore. Like I have fond memories of trick or treating. I love trick or treating with our kids, but I think that I like those years a little better.
I don't have that same experience of like doing like pranking people on Halloween. Me and my friends didn't do stuff like that. When we were in that in-between stage where you were like pranking people, like before you were doing big parties, we were going actually to the Kings Island aunt stuff. Like those were the types of things we would do during Kings Island. I grew up in a completely
different environment where we didn't have anything like that. So we had to make our own fun, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. We had fun though. I still have like, if we do the Kings Island thing tonight, it does hold like a special nostalgia for me, even though it's changed over the years, just because me and my, little teen friends would run around and just be scared and hang out with everyone we knew.
You know what I just thought of? This was so in those earlier years of like, starting to hang out with like it being more of a social thing and not so much about the trick or treating. I just remember this was probably like 8th grade. One of my friends, his parents had like they lived out on a farm. They had a converted like barn that had like, couches, TVs, like all of that. So like we were like doing a similar thing where we were hanging out, like there's like video games and stuff going. But we had like a Halloween party that year. And like, I remember that was like probably the year that I was like seriously starting to like get into like dating and girls and stuff. And my crush was there, and we ended up like splitting off to like play like flashlight, like hide and seek. Yeah. Oh man, those were the days.
Flashlight, hide and seek,
quote. No one's really looking for each other because you're paired off with your crush and you're just kind of gone for 3 hours.
Gross.
Man, that's fun times.
Yeah. But, you can't do that at Kings Island.
No, you can't do that at Kings Island. Like I said, like it was a very, my Halloween experience and like some of the things that we had to do to kind of make it fun were a lot different than what, like we have so many options for things like fall festivities, like Kings Island, like things like that for our kids to go do now. And
our kids will probably have more of a similar like Halloween experience than like kind of similar to how I did, just gauging like the type of neighborhood we live in. Probably just trick or treating, going to Halloween festivals with friends. So I don't know, as long as they're not smashing people's property like you were, I'm all for harmless fun. I don't know how I feel about disappearing, playing flashlight tag for 3 hours.
Yeah,
but...
So our kids are already like they're running around the neighborhood all the time, playing like hide and seek and stuff, and they're starting to get to that age where like they've got little crushes and stuff, and I'm just like, nope, watching you like a hawk. You stay right there.
Yeah, you're not playing this game.
I know how this goes
without us watching.
Oh man. But then that kind of like, I don't know, like, how did you feel about your like more like college years Halloweens? Because like there was good and bad. I don't think that they quite lived up to like the experience of like my high school like Halloweens.
So, I mean, they definitely didn't live up. I would say the first 2 years that I was kidless of the college years were just the stereotypical like, oh, like all the people I was friends with, they just wanted to go dress up as like sexy Native Americans. Like we talked about sexy ghosts.
I was sexy Angel Steve Jobs the year that he died.
Well, I honestly can't remember any of my costumes, but it was pretty much just those like stereotypical, oh, we're going to play beer pong. Someone is going to be there smoking weed and might have weed to share. Like just stupid stuff. Like looking back, not fun, not spooky. Just like people being dumb.
How fucked up can you get?
Yeah, how fucked up can you get tonight?
Are you going to make it back to your house with full clothes on still?
Are you going to be puking all night?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was just, are you going to throw up all night? I only got like a couple of fun, like drinking years of like college where going to parties, but looking back were not fun parties. And then it turned into, that's when Evelyn came along. And shortly after Margot. So most of my 20s was like trick-or-treating, fun kid themed Halloweens, which is fun to me too. I had so many fun memories of just the kids being babies and dressing them up in their first costumes. So yeah, it's weird to think about how your life has like different stages of like Halloween spooky
Halloween
fun, and
is
it changes.
Constantly evolving. Like,
it is.
And like now, like I'm starting to see our kids kind of get into some of the things that made Halloween so special for me, and I'm like,
I know it's getting to the fun year. Like, it's really taking me back right now because the kids are really into, like the new Hocus Pocus movie just came out, so that takes you back to those years when you used to watch that movie. And
shout out Doug Jones.
They're watching like Halloween Town and all the fun Disney Channel classics, which are super cheesy but still so fun to watch to me. And they're starting to like the creepier stuff too, which is fun. So it's kind of great because you get to relive all of those stages again with your kids. So it's great. Life just keeps on going.
I think one of my favorite my favorite things to do with the kids, and we haven't done this very much in the last couple of years, but when we lived in Indianapolis, there was a lot more around, I feel. The corn mazes. Like I love like kind of just going out and like letting the kids kind of navigate that. And
I love a good corn maze.
Love a good corn maze.
And I love now we can start carving pumpkins with them. So that's a really fun time that we did, a fun thing that we did last year that we can do every year now. I think we hit all the good parts. It's like the candy is the least fun of it all.
I mean, the candy is like not even so much about like the candy is like kind of more of an like you're collecting candy on day of.
Yeah.
But the candy's more of a November thing. Like post Halloween, like you're just eating it for a couple of weeks and regretting your life.
It's kind of like how Christmas Day to me is not the fun part. It's the season leading up.
Yes.
It's the magic leading up to it and the feeling. It's not the day itself. So
I'm just going to keep Halloween rolling all the way to Christmas this year. Like just take all of our Halloween decorations and instead of putting them away, throw them up on the tree.
Just put them on the Halloween tree this year.
Keeping all the Halloween colors up, black.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
As an adult this year, are you going to dress up?
So I usually do. And where I'm at right now is the last couple of years, I have dressed up in accordance with what Milo was being. So last year, Milo was a Ghostbuster. I dressed up as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. The year before that, Milo was the Incredible Hulk. So I dressed up as big Dad Incredible Hulk.
Dad Hulk.
So he was Baby Hulk. I was Dad Hulk.
Purple face. Did
No,
you
it was-
purple face?
No, I green faced.
Oh, you green faced. The Hulk is green.
Yeah, you're thinking.
I was thinking of his.
No. Do you remember the generic version of him on Dexter's Lab? It was on the Justice Friends cartoon.
Yes.
Hunk or no, it wasn't Hunk. It was no.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was like Trunk. I don't know.
You green faced.
Yeah, I did green face. So sorry if we have any green face listeners.
Yeah.
Not trying to be offensive, just trying to be my favorite Avenger.
Yeah, it makes him happy for you to join along with what he's doing. It validates him. So this year, are you going to do a costume with him?
So this year, Milo just got into Pokemon, like hardcore into Pokemon. So he's being Ash Ketchum. So I've been throwing out the idea of I'm either going to just get an adult onesie and be Pikachu, walk around with Milo as Pikachu, which that'd be comfy and warm, or I'm going to do my own thing.
I think you should do your own thing because I found out, spoiler alert for my mom, that she's going to be Pikachu this year. So,
all right, Dawn, I'm going to have words with you.
She's
my thing, though.
I guess she's being giant inflatable Pikachu.
Inflatable Pikachu?
Yeah, like an inflatable costume Pikachu.
I was going to be sexy Pikachu. That's way better.
Were you going to wear a skirt?
Yeah, like full on like having to pick my
with
ass
stockings
all night because my underwear are just riding up so bad.
Oh, I love when that happens.
Yeah. But yeah, kind of just transitioning out of Halloween memories and our favorite things about trick or treating and just Halloween rituals and things that we do. Let's talk a little bit in the last few minutes that we have here, a little bit more about the spookier side. Do you have any spooky things that have happened to you in your life? Outside of childbirth.
I would love to say that I have, because that's so interesting to me, just spooky stuff in general. But other than the stereotypical uneasiness of having weird deja vu instances where I know what's going to happen next before it happens, or waking up and seeing a shadow in my closet with eyeballs.
I put those there. I'm sorry.
Nothing has ever actually happened to me that's scary, and I wish it had. The closest thing to something paranormal that I've ever seen, or witchy or anything, actually happened 2 days ago. And it wasn't even anything, I think. Evelyn and I were driving home from her dance class, and we're driving through, and on the side of the road, there was a group of about 10 adults in the grass, in somebody's front yard. And they were standing in a perfect circle. And there was something in the middle on the ground. And they weren't holding hands, but they were all holding their hands out, next to them. They were all in a circle. And then they were looking up. And
so a prayer circle.
It didn't look like a prayer circle because their heads weren't down and bowed in prayer. They weren't closing their hands. They weren't joining hands. Their hands were out to their side, open, and they're looking up, and there's something sitting in the middle. So we're driving down the road, and I wasn't gonna say anything because I was mostly driving, just focusing on that, and then see that happen. But then Evelyn in the backseat goes, "What's going on over there, Mom?" And I'm like, I have no clue. But to me, I was like, it looks like they're performing some sort of ritual or something. It looked weird and not normal. So that's I'm just joking. It really happened. I'm not joking that it happened, but I'm joking that it's a paranormal thing that I saw. It was probably honestly just some sort of a memorial that they were doing, or who knows what it was, but it looked weird, and the moon was above them. All I'm saying is I think they were summoning something. So yeah, other than that, nothing's ever happened to me that's kind of freaky and weird.
This reminds me, this is also not a spooky story, but this reminds me of at one of my Halloween parties that I was having in high school. I had to run one of my friends home who actually lived in the next town over, which was 15 minutes or so. who they didn't drive yet, so I had to like run them home really quick. So I actually like left my party for a little bit to take them home, and the quickest way to get there is like through like some of these like country back roads with like corn everywhere. And as we were driving through, like I see like this like bright light coming from this field, and I'm like, I wonder what that is. And as we get closer, there is a giant like, and I'm not shitting. So to give you some context here, I grew up in a rural town in Indiana. Very, 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 I guess you would say not with the times. The next town over, Marion, Indiana, was the location of the last public lynching.
You are not about to say what I think you are.
There is a burning cross
in the
middle of this field with just all of the farmers from the community, like their trucks and stuff, like lined up along the road. They're out in this field in full on like
plan. Shitting me.
I'm not shitting you. That legit happened. The year was 2007, I want to say. So as late as 2007.
Was this on Halloween?
This was on Halloween. Yeah. And I see a full-on like clan meeting happening out in the middle of the country outside of my town.
So like in perfect view, though, of where people could see them.
They didn't give a shit.
That is so like...
Yeah, it was a really messed up thing to see. And like I said, like they weren't trying to really hide it. Like they were there. That was one of the most messed up things I've ever seen.
That is a really messed up thing.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that. Like,
yeah, no, I wasn't expecting. I always knew like that there was still clan activity in that area, like where I grew up, and I knew the history around the clan in the area, but I was not expecting in 2007 like seeing this like big gathering of people. Just like that ridiculous.
Full offense, if you are one of those people, you're shitty.
Fuck off.
Like,
don't listen to my podcast.
Yeah, I mean full offense. Like, I hope you stub your toe today. That's so awful and just, wow. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I really hope that I never do. And on Halloween, come on, to taint Halloween, don't taint that holiday with that. Like, that's not what that's for.
They taint us because they ain't us.
That's so frustrating. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, the group I saw, the circle, I don't think they were clan members, but it was really
they're doing something
really weird to where like my 9-year-old's like, what's going on there? And I'm like, I could not tell you.
On that same night, just to kind of keep in the topic of like just stupid things that you would do as a teenager, I stole a shopping cart.
What?
So
you stole a shopping cart? I
stole a shopping cart.
Was this after you saw the clan members?
This was actually, yeah. We dropped my friend off who couldn't drive yet. And I had a few friends like in the car with me as well. And we were passing like this, like kind of just like store. Like we had this little, like, it wasn't, so we were such a small town. We didn't really have like Walmart or anything like that. We had like a smaller kind of like more like retail centered store that wasn't a grocery store. Kind of, yeah,
Dave
something kind of like that.
Too.
No, it wasn't. I don't even remember the name of it, but there was a shopping cart, like kind of just like out, like way away from the store. And
I'm sorry I make fun of your town. I feel like
it needs to be made fun of. Like I just told you that the clan is still alive and well. At least 2007, the clan was still there. It probably still is, or all of those people are dead from heroin.
Oof.
So, but yeah, I stole a shopping cart that night, and that just sat in my garage for like years, I think.
Wait, what was the purpose? Like, why did you steal it?
In my mind, I was like, Jackass was really big back then.
So did you do anything?
Oh yeah. We I remember like, we straight up shot a video of us like my friend Thorne getting into the shopping cart and us like just pushing him around town and like running him into stuff and like hurting him. We did stupid shit like that. I don't regret those stupid things because like that's what got me into filmmaking. And we've talked about this already, but like that's why I am where I am.
So harmless fun.
I mean, aside from the shopping cart that we stole, that's probably, I'm sure that.
Wait, how did you get it home?
In my trunk. It didn't. I mean, I shoved it in kind of like sideways. The trunk didn't close. I had just enough of an opening where I was able to put it in, kind of like.
And all the police officers were probably busy with other things.
Well,
so.
I mean, I just told you that I had to drive through country back roads where there was a Klan meeting going on to get there.
True.
So on the way back, I was driving the same route, which by the time I drove back through, like I probably shouldn't have, like I probably would have seen the Klan some more if I had not stopped to steal a shopping cart. But by the time I drove back through, that was all gone. Like they were just like nothing had ever happened. Like it was just gone. Nobody was out there anymore. Like they did the cross burning, they had their meeting, and they got home.
Were they ghost clans?
Ooh.
That's even creepier.
All right, guys, all of that just to lead up to my spooky story. Just kidding. No, I think they were real people. That would have been like messed up. Like, ooh, were they ever actually there?
Were they there?
They were just the ghost of Clan Pass.
I would have like went and checked out the site when they were gone.
Were there ashes from the cross still?
Maybe it was just all, ghostly figures.
Yeah. I really hope that there was nothing like sinister happening. I'm hoping that,
right.
And I'm not hoping that this, like, it upsets me that this was happening at all. But I hope that it was just like they were out there just doing their stupid bullshit. Yeah. And it wasn't like harming anybody. I mean, not like physically.
Not physically doing anything to anybody.
Like I said, like there's some bad history around there. But
so speaking of talking about ghosts, is it okay now for me to ask you if you believe in ghosts or paranormal activity of any kind?
So there's a part of me that wants to believe. And I think that's always like, that's always been true. Like I've always like, I love like, as far as like horror films and like spooky things like that, like the paranormal has always been like what I've been most drawn to. But it's because I am in watching a movie and going through those experiences, I am able to suspend disbelief. And I don't think that I actually believe in it. Even as an adult, I mean, I'm not, and this isn't really like that important to the story, but like I'm atheist. I'm not afraid to say that, like whatever. Like, it's just like one of those things, like the afterlife. Like that's something that I struggle with quite a bit. It's just like I don't know that I believe in necessarily an afterlife in the sense that like everybody else like believes in heaven. And I think if anything, like what I can hope for is that there's just you have your life that ends, and either you become part of the earth again, and like that's your way of kind of like living on, is you provide back to the planet that you're I don't know. My beliefs are constantly kind of just like I'm adapting, changing, but for the longest, like for forever, I have not really believed in like the traditional sense of like an afterlife, like a heaven and hell, and that sort of thing. And that's why it's hard for me to believe in like the ghosts. Like, yes, there have been times in my life where like something spooky has happened where I'm like, shit, like what did I just experience? But not enough for me to say like, oh yeah, I 100% like believe in like ghosts and spirits, and I want to believe.
What about other people that have stories that they've told that they've experienced?
Bullshit.
Do you believe them? You think it's all BS?
No, I know I just said bullshit, but no, like, and that's the thing is
or do you think that it's something that they think that they see?
I think that it is real to them, and I would never doubt someone, or like I would never discredit their belief or like what they saw. I would never say like, no, you didn't. Like if like sometimes like those experiences, like they can be very like, that's what spirituality is though. Like everyone experiences it differently, and just because like I don't really even not being Christian, like I mean you're able to experience spirituality. Like I mean, there's so many other like religions. Even not being a religious person, you were able to experience like spirituality. There's certain things that like I would say like in my life that like I would kind of I don't know, I guess kind of compare to a spiritual experience, but not in the sense of like, ghosts and stuff like that.
Well, what would compare to a spiritual experience to you?
I'd say the closest that I've come is probably Red Rocks.
So like music is more.
No, like, yeah. So, I mean, just, for me, it's kind of just getting in touch with it, just like being in the moment, like in something that you're experiencing it, and having like this shared energy between people. And I think that that's like the closest that, and again, I joke that like, oh, Red Rocks, like, no, like that really was like in a sense for me, a spiritual experience just because like it is all of these people in one place at one time, this surreal kind of like atmosphere and experience, like everyone kind of like in tune with each other. And concerts, music does that to people. And I think that for me, like that can kind of be described as a spiritual experience.
It absolutely, I mean, there's something to be said with a lot of people in the same mindset, in the same place at the same time. That's what church is. That's, you know, that's probably why people have such a spiritual feeling at church. I think that when there are groups of people seeking the same thing or in the same mindset, you're feeling that energy. And I think it can be a spiritual, you know, event, even if it's music or especially music, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's a good comparison. What about when we went on the ghost tour in Colorado?
Oh, that's not that. Yeah, I did not think that you saw a ghost at all. You
even looking at the photo, you don't see that.
I don't. And like I said, I had a moment. And I think that this is why you got the camera out in the first place and started taking pictures. Like I did have a moment where I felt like I was being watched. Like there was a story that was told to us. It was creepy, whatever. But I felt like, and again, an energy. I don't know what that could be. That could be like your own mind sending signals through your body, like making the hairs stand up like that. Who knows what causes this stuff? I've spent the last 32 years trying to figure out what the hell I believe in. And, you know, like it's changing all the time. You know, and I think that like, you know, like for like ghosts and spirits and things, like I'm intrigued by the thought of, you know, paranormal activities. I think it'd be cool to really experience something like that and have a definitive answer like, oh shit, this is real. I think that would put my mind at ease a little bit, even knowing like, shit, there is some form of afterlife.
Like some concrete evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a seeing is believing kind of guy. And I don't think that I even though like I've had things that have like not sat right with me, like, oh, something was off about this experience. Like I've had those. I don't think that I've ever like truly like experienced anything. And I think I don't think anybody really ever has. I think that they have experienced something that, and you know, again, like you feel an energy or you feel that something's there, but what really is that? So I don't know. It's hard for me to answer whether or not I believe. Like shorter answer is no, I don't believe in ghosts or spirits. But that's not to say that I'm not open to it. Like if I experience something, like I'm open to questioning what that is. To like, I don't just like automatically, I guess, like I don't like just shoot it down like, oh no, that wasn't anything. Like it sticks with me in my mind. Like that's part of like this ongoing debate that I will probably always struggle with. But
so here's another one. You know, there's some people that are famous for being able to see spirits or like being like psychic or something like that, to the point where like certain police forces will put their trust, like their last resort trust sometimes in some of these people. And sometimes they're right. Do you think those are lucky guesses or intuition?
I think that there are certain levels of, I guess you would say clairvoyant intuition.
So you think it's an intuition thing, not so much like I talk to a ghost?
I don't think that it's that. I think that there is, and again, there's things that you just can't explain. And I don't know if that's spiritual or what it is, but sometimes like people, they just have this very strong calling or gut instinct or intuition that points them toward clues that maybe other people aren't able to see. And I think that's really, it's kind of just this ability to kind of like look at the show Psych. That whole show is based around like this guy with this like photographihic memory.
And he's like hyper observant.
Yeah. And he's playing it off to everybody else like, oh, like I'm a psychic. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that some people are just more in tune with their surroundings and are able to see things that others aren't able to see. And they just get these kind of like feelings where like they might not know that they're right, but like it turns out like they got lucky. I don't know if it was a guess or if maybe they know, but they can't, like the proof isn't quite there. So they take a leap and like it turns out to be right. I don't know. But I don't know.
Interesting. I think you and I are kind of on the same page with the ghost aspect of things. You know, are there spirits walking among us? I don't know if I believe that. I haven't experienced anything like that. And I'm not afraid to say that most stories that I hear of people saying that they have,
everybody has a ghost story.
I feel like they're a little bit BS, or they're nothing more than a trick of the eye, like
trick of the eye. And again, your
right
body
circumstances,
sending signals. Yeah. Like
most of it can be explained away into something. Because don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of tricks of the eyes where I'm like, I just saw something.
Oh, I mean, I do too, and I don't even believe. So.
And then you can eventually explain it away by doing some quick investigation to your surroundings. I do feel, so I'm not sure. I've never seen anything very compelling or heard anyone's story that seems very compelling, because it's always someone who saw it just themselves. There's no other witnesses. There's no, anything like that. And I think sometimes people want to think that they saw something or think that they did. I do believe in an afterlife, though. So I can't say for sure what the afterlife looks like. So I can't completely discredit that there are spirits walking around, because I don't know. I don't know there's no evidence telling me one way or the other.
And again, this goes back to like what I was saying, like all things are, we're made of energy and matter.
Right.
And that doesn't just go away.
I mean, energy, I do believe in, I believe in going to somewhere where horrible things have happened.
Oh, yeah.
And feeling that horrible energy. Mm-hmm. Like I've done stuff like that before, and I don't believe it's all in your head. I think a little bit of it is you are recognizing certain things happened in this place, but there is just like this energy attached. So I think energy is real. Vibrations, whatever that you want to call it, whether that be, is it a ghost? Is it energy? Is it the same thing? We don't know. So I guess it's kind of to be determined, because I haven't seen evidence one way or the other. I guess we'll have to die to find out.
And I mean, and I hope I'm not. If I'm right, we'll never know.
That's true. If you're right and there's nothing after, and we're just like grass. So or something.
I hope, like, and that's the thing is like, it's not that I want to be right. I'm hopeful that, after we pass, like I'm still in some way or another able to, experience you and our kids. And I hope that doesn't just go away. Like, I don't want to be right. Like, I'm kind of like I believe in what I can see and what I can understand and what can be explained. And that's how, I've experienced life.
This is sort of on topic, sort of a tangent, but as a child, I always had these very strange questions that no one could answer to me when, we'd go to church and we'd talk about heaven and all of that. I do believe in a heaven of sorts, but I don't believe that it's a physical, like golden street with bricks and, that I was told it would be. I think that it will be somewhere that you feel painless and, you're not living anymore. So you're not going to feel those human feels that you do, like the emotion and the pain and all of that. I don't want that,
though. That's the part of the experience. And without that, what's the point?
But here's my thing. I was always led to believe, you're going to go through the golden gates to this golden roads. Everyone's going to have a mansion built for them in heaven when they get there, and that you're going to be with your family. But my thing is, what does that mean? Because I've seen situations where,
who's to say that their heaven is with us?
Well, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what if you say my dream when I die is to be with my kids, but what if my kids didn't enjoy being with, and I'm not saying that they don't like me.
No, but I get,
I'm saying, what if my
trust
kids...
me, I get that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Like, what if my kids' idea of heaven and the afterlife is not being with me?
So if, let's say that there is an afterlife where you are with your kids, is that really your kids then? Or is that just
it an image of my kids, like a fake version of them? So that's why I'm like, there's a lot of plot holes here.
Kandace just she cracked it. When we die, we are uploaded into the Matrix.
Well, I mean, this was the 7-year-old version of me that cracked this. So I'm asking like, hey, what if you really like this friend and want to see them in heaven, but they hate you? And all I was told was, oh, you'll be with your family and you'll be happy forever. But it's like, what is family though?
Even like living, like we're constantly questioning what is family.
Yeah, like what is family, and then
the value of family. I think is changing for our generation versus past generations. And
so, what if there's like a toxic person in your family that you don't want to see in heaven, but they really want to see you, or maybe a spouse that you do not want to be with in heaven?
In talking about like heaven and hell, like what if there is somebody that you want to be with, but they didn't make it into heaven. Mm-hmm. What if they're not there? Like, so how is that heaven
for you? Yeah. Like what if,
so the best way that I could describe it is it's not going to be them. It's a parallel of them, or almost an image of them created for you. And that's sad. That's not real. It's
really sad.
That's why this right here, this is real. And I just try to like, I don't know. I'm probably wrong. Who knows? Like of all the religions out there, one of them's got to be onto something. So who's for me to say, like, be the asshole that says, like, there's nothing?
Exactly, yeah.
So I just try to take advantage of the fact that I know that I'm here right now and that this is real. And I try to make the most of that time.
Also, though, if you're wrong, do you want to see me in heaven? Because I need to figure out my future plans. If you don't, I'm going to make some new hopes in here. Just let me know.
I mean, let's meet up, once in a while. Like we'll go hunting.
We'll feel it out.
We'll go hunting. I feel like that's something we'll have fun doing. Who would you hunt?
Well, it depends.
Would you hunt your kids?
I mean,
like,
not in a bad way.
I don't feel like any ghost intends to haunt their kids in a bad way. Like they just want to be close to their family.
I would want to see like how they're doing. I'm sure
their kids probably are not enjoying. See, like, oh, my dead mom from 10 years ago is like staring at me in the middle of the night. Like,
I hate that thought. There's so many things that you like can't do by yourself in the dark without thinking, what if my grandpa's here?
Oh man, you just ruined nighttime activities for us.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's where all the plot holes come in with ghosts.
There's so many of them.
So many. You can't. I don't know. But yeah, if I were a ghost, I would like to check in on my kids. I'd make sure it was like before 7 p.m. I would make sure
it kosher.
I wouldn't go like in their bedrooms or something. I would just like peek in, be like, oh, they're having dinner. They're so sweet. Like, I'm glad they're having a good life. Or, I'd shake my head at them like, come on.
I mean, I'm sure that there's probably something like, Heaven Instagram where you're able to kind of just see like their social media, like what's happening on Earth.
See, that would be really convenient.
But would it be real though? Because you see how people, their Instagram is not the real, genuine them.
I was kind of picturing like Wicked Witch of the West, like crystal ball.
Oh yeah, no,
like kind of just peeking in on what they're
rubbing
doing.
Your balls and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, to rub the balls, peek in on what your family's doing.
Mirror on the wall. Here's my balls.
mirror in the balls. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna start wrapping this up. But listener, this got into kind of a heavy topic, and we might talk about this down the line a little bit more if that's something you guys are interested in, or if we have a guest that is willing to come on and talk. Like, we're open to all views and opinions and beliefs, and
I also don't want to. I hope that what I said didn't scare anyone off that has had a paranormal experience.
And that's exactly it. Like,
I would love to hear one.
All I can say is that I have, based on my experiences and what my belief system is, this is how I perceive things. And that might be different from for another person. What might be very real to you might not be real to me. And that doesn't discredit what you've experienced. And I want to have you on the show and talk about these things.
We would love to hear it.
I'm not going to put down like somebody else's beliefs and like what is very real to them. Like just because it's not real to me does not make it, unreal to them. And so yeah, I hopefully you guys aren't like thinking like, oh, they're just a bunch. Oh, Kandace is not, but like Justin's just an atheist asshole. Like,
He is an asshole, but
I am an asshole, but it has nothing to do with my belief system. But yeah, like, no, this was the fun chat. We got a little bit of nostalgia and just Halloween past. We got a little bit of the spooky.
It was a nice way to kick off our Creepful themed month. Creepful podcast.
Yes. So yeah, thanks for listening. I am Justin.
I'm Kandace.
Keep it creepy. Fill your candy bucket.
Creep your.
Bye.
And don't burn crosses. That's really weird.
I'm cutting that out.